It is the fault of the WNBA because the LPGA just did everything that the WNBA should have been doing this season. They did it all correct in literally one day.
Just now, the LPGA just exposed everything the WNBA got wrong about Caitlin Clark, and it's a bombshell that's impossible to ignore. While the LPGA pulled out all the stops to celebrate Caitlin's talents and capitalize on her star power.
I was trying to think of who else maybe could play today, especially in women's sports, that would create this kind of attention. The true buzz that Caitlin Clark has shown across the entire sports world in such a short period of time.
The WNBA has gone in the opposite direction, neglecting her achievements and missing countless opportunities to elevate the league. What's worse, this isn't just a one-time misstep, it's starting to look like a deliberate effort to suppress Caitlin's impact despite her undeniable contributions to the sport.
They didn't want to give her too much praise. They didn't want to prop her up too much and forget about everyone else who came before her.
Instead of using her momentum to grow the game, the WNBA seems more focused on keeping her in the shadows, prioritizing fairness over excellence in a way that damages not just Caitlin, but the league as a whole.
There was just so many things that it felt like it was always just a little bit of a push, like make sure you don't do too much. We don't want to give her too much praise. We don't want to tweet about her too much. We don't want to post about her too much. We don't want to give her too much media coverage.
Let's not forget, Caitlin Clark has brought record-breaking viewership, massive fan engagement, and global attention to women's basketball.
Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
Yet the WNBA didn't even acknowledge her during a pivotal moment, her debut at an LPGA Pro-Am event. This was a golden chance to show support for one of their biggest stars, and instead, the league stayed silent.
The fact that the WNBA posted nothing, zero. Let's just make sure that everyone else is also happy. Like that seemed to be the consensus for the entire WNBA season.
Compare that to the LPGA, which paired her with their #1 golfer, promoted the event extensively, and turned it into a massive success.
What were the nerves like hitting your opening tee shot here compared to what you normally do on the basketball court?
I don't get nervous for basketball, but I got a little nervous for this because I don't want to hit anybody, but honestly, I'm just trying to have fun.
Meanwhile, Angel Reese and A'ja Wilson continued to fuel the narrative against Caitlin, turning what should be a celebration of her talent into a toxic environment of rivalry and exclusion. Today, we're breaking it all down, how the LPGA outshone the WNBA by embracing Caitlin, why this neglect isn't just a missed opportunity, but a damaging trend, and what this means for the future of women's sports. The WNBA.
You see her at this event, you see the kind of noise that this is making, you see that this is trending on social media, you see that SportsCenter, Bleacher Report, all of these places, every media outlet is covering this, and you don't say anything.
The WNBA's failure to recognize and celebrate Caitlin Clark isn't just a mistake. It's a glaring indictment of how the league treats its brightest stars.
I think Caitlin Clark is doing the right thing, rising above all of the crap that she's had to endure. The amount of fouls committed on Caitlin Clark higher than any other. Caitlin Clark was worried about playing the game, and that is why she got Rookie of the Year. She was not worried about the BS.
Caitlin, who has drawn unparalleled attention to women's basketball with her incredible skill and electrifying performances, should be the face of the sport's future. Yet instead of leveraging her massive fan base and historic accomplishments,
and it just goes to show that all of us who have been speaking out about this and saying, like, it doesn't seem like you guys are giving Caitlin, the kind of props that she deserves for bringing all these eyeballs and, the Caitlin Clark effect that we talk about, viewership, money, all of those things. All of the people who were shouting this for the entire WNBA season, this is an instance where we are proved correct.
The WNBA has chosen to downplay her contributions. The league has consistently missed opportunities to promote Caitlin in ways that would not only elevate her career, but also boost the entire WNBA brand. It's as if the league is afraid of her overshadowing others, putting petty concerns over the bigger picture of growing the sport. This problem became painfully obvious during Caitlin's participation in the LPGA Pro-Am event. While the golf world capitalized on her presence, using her star power to draw massive attention to women's golf, the WNBA was nowhere to be seen. They didn't post about her, acknowledge her, or even celebrate the fact that one of their own was making waves in another sport. In contrast, the LPGA went all in. They promoted the event relentlessly, paired Caitlin with Nelly Korda, their top player, and ensured she was front and center center in the coverage. Fans loved it, the event trended across social media, and the LPGA reaped the rewards of smart marketing. The WNBA, however, stayed silent, missing a prime chance to highlight the crossover appeal of one of their brightest stars.
You see her at this event, you see the kind of noise that this is making, you see that this is trending on social media, you see that SportsCenter, Bleacher Report, all of these places, every media outlet is covering this.
The silence from the WNBA wasn't just disappointing, it sent a troubling message. For a league that claims to uplift women in sports, this moment exposed a reluctance to fully embrace Caitlin Clark and the excitement she brings to the game. This isn't the first time the league has held back. Throughout the season, the WNBA seemed hesitant to put Caitlin in the spotlight. From delays in recognizing her as Rookie of the Year to minimizing her impact on social media, it felt like the league was trying to dilute her significance to avoid upsetting the status quo. Instead of celebrating her for raising the profile of women's basketball, they appeared more concerned about keeping her accomplishments in check.
LPGA did literally everything correct. They capitalized on the moment. They found a way to put it on television. They allowed people to be there. Caitlin was signing autographs. They put their best golfer in the tour, league, whatever it's called. They put her with Caitlin because they knew that she would get more eyeballs doing it. They propped up all of their golfers in one event.
And let's talk about the criticism Caitlin has faced from within the basketball community. Stars like Angel Reese and Aja Wilson have made subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, jabs at Caitlin, fueling unnecessary rivalry instead of building a culture of mutual respect and empowerment. These dynamics don't just harm Caitlin, they hurt the league as a whole by discouraging collaboration and stifling the visibility of its most bankable talent. Caitlin Clark has the potential to bring women's basketball to new heights, but without the full support of the WNBA, her influence can only go so far. This isn't just Caitlin's loss, it's a loss for every young girl who looks up to her and dreams of following in her footsteps.
The ratings were phenomenal because of Caitlin Clark, but we all realize that Caitlin Clark single-handedly is responsible for the WNBA mattering.
In contrast to the LPGA's masterclass in promotion, the WNBA's silence was deafening. What could have been a unifying moment became another example of the league fumbling its biggest opportunities. If the WNBA can't see the value Caitlin Clark brings to the game, then they're not just failing her, they're failing the future of women's sports.
So Caitlin Clark's her round of golf has finished today, and I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm also going to be talking about, in a video a little bit later, just about how the LPGA have completely shown up the WNBA here. They really have. What the LPGA have done when it comes with the Caitlin Clark situation is exactly how you use the rising tide raises all boats.
While the WNBA stumbled, the LPGA took Caitlin Clark's appearance at their Pro-Am event and turned it into a triumph for women's sports. From the outset, the LPGA recognized Caitlin's potential to draw attention, not just to their event, but to the sport of golf as a whole. Pairing her with Nelly Korda, the world's #1 golfer, was a stroke of genius. It wasn't just about having a celebrity appearance, it was about creating a mutually beneficial partnership that showcased the best of both worlds.
Caitlin Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing to happen to the WNBA ever. Remember, there's been good players come out of college, but nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really cared.
Fans who came for Caitlin were introduced to Nelly, while golf enthusiasts who followed Nelly got to witness Caitlin's incredible crossover appeal. The LPGA didn't stop there. They flooded their social media channels with updates, videos, and photos of Caitlin. Fans saw her interacting with the crowd, signing autographs, and genuinely enjoying the experience. The event was marketed as more than just a competition. It was a celebration of talent, unity, and the growing power of women in sports. This kind of strategic promotion didn't just elevate Caitlin, it brought attention to the LPGA as an organization that knows how to seize a moment. By embracing Caitlin's presence, the LPGA created a win-win situation where both the athlete and the league benefited immensely.
She's focusing on the game. She lifted her team up, got them to the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year, and then also is denouncing racial tensions when she's asked about it.
What's most striking is how the LPGA handled the situation with grace and confidence, qualities the WNBA seems to lack when it comes to promoting its own players. The LPGA didn't shy away from Caitlin's star power or worry that it might overshadow their golfers. Instead, they leaned into it, recognizing that attention for Caitlin is attention for the sport. Compare that to the WNBA, where there's a clear reluctance to embrace Caitlin's widespread popularity. This difference in approach highlights just how far behind the WNBA is in understanding how to build a brand and connect with fans.
What Caitlin Clark does is kind of simple, really. She shows up at games, she signs autographs, she talks to little girls wearing jerseys, she smiles to the crowd, and then here's the most important thing. She competes like a maniac. I mean like a maniac.
The LPGA's handling of Caitlin Clark should serve as a wake-up call for the WNBA. By actively celebrating Caitlin, the LPGA gained tremendous positive publicity and expanded its fan base. The event trended on social media, garnered coverage from major outlets like SportsCenter and Bleacher Report, and proved that women's sports can draw massive interest when marketed correctly. Meanwhile, the WNBA sat on the sidelines, watching as another league reaped the benefits of promoting one of their own. What's truly shocking is how easy it would have been for the WNBA to join in the celebration. A simple tweet, a post, or even a small acknowledgement could have gone a long way in showing support for Caitlin and keeping the spotlight on women's basketball. But they chose silence instead, reinforcing the perception that the league is unwilling, or perhaps unable, to capitalize on the opportunities Caitlin Clark consistently creates. This wasn't just a missed chance. It was a glaring failure to support an athlete who has done more to grow the game in the last year than most leagues could hope for in a decade. The LPGA proved that promoting Caitlin Clark isn't a threat, it's an opportunity. If the WNBA had even half the foresight of the LPGA, they'd understand that Caitlin's rise is a chance to elevate not just her profile, but the league's entire image. Instead, they've left fans asking the same question: why can't the WNBA see what everyone else sees in Caitlin Clark? The WNBA's refusal to embrace Caitlin Clark doesn't just affect her, it undermines the league itself and damages the progress of women's sports as a whole. Caitlin is a generational talent, the kind of athlete whose name transcends the sport and draws new fans to the game. Yet, by failing to celebrate her, the WNBA risks alienating those fans and missing a rare opportunity to grow its audience. This neglect isn't just short-sighted, it's actively harmful to the league's future and to the countless young athletes who look up to Caitlin as a role model. One of the most significant issues is how this sends a chilling message to aspiring players. Caitlin has shattered records, redefined what's possible in women's basketball, and captivated audiences around the world. If someone like her isn't celebrated, what does that say to other young athletes dreaming of making it to the WNBA? It suggests that no matter how great they are, their accomplishments might still be minimized, their efforts overlooked. By sidelining Caitlin, the WNBA isn't just ignoring her achievements, they're discouraging the next generation of talent from seeing the league as a viable and supportive platform. Another consequence of the WNBA's neglect is the division it creates within the sport. Players like Angel Reese and Aja Wilson, who have publicly clashed with Caitlin or downplayed her success, are symptomatic of a larger issue. Instead of fostering a culture of mutual respect and shared success, this dynamic feeds a toxic rivalry that detracts from the league's unity. Rivalries can be healthy for sports when built on mutual admiration and competition, but what we're seeing here feels personal, exclusionary, and damaging to the league's reputation. The WNBA should be the first to step in and champion its stars equally, but their silence only amplifies the negativity.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
This neglect also reinforces the idea that the WNBA WNBA doesn't understand how to capitalize on its biggest moments. When Caitlyn's games break viewership records, when her name trends on social media, and when her presence elevates events like the LPGA Pro-Am, the WNBA should be front and center, celebrating her as a key part of their story. Instead, they're silent, allowing other leagues like the LPGA to seize the moment and showcase what it means to support their athletes. This kind of inaction not only hurts Caitlyn's career, but weakens the league's ability to attract sponsors, viewers, and future talent. Most importantly, the WNBA is missing the chance to redefine what women's sports can be. Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player, she's a cultural phenomenon. Her ability to draw fans from all walks of life is a gift the league should be leveraging to its fullest. Yet, by choosing not to promote her, the WNBA is effectively telling its audience that it doesn't see the value in one of its brightest stars. This isn't just a disservice to Caitlin, it's a disservice to women's basketball as a whole. In contrast to the LPGA, which has shown the power of recognizing and uplifting its athletes, the WNBA's neglect comes across as petty and self-defeating. Caitlin Clark has the potential to lead the league into a new era of growth and visibility, but that can only happen if the WNBA embraces her as the transformative figure she is. Until that happens, the league will continue to fumble opportunities, alienate fans, and stifle the growth of the very sport it claims to champion. The LPGA's handling of Caitlin Clark's participation in their Pro-Am event wasn't just a masterclass in marketing, it was a lesson the WNBA desperately needs to learn. While one league embraced her, showcasing her talent and recognizing her ability to bring attention to women's sports, the other stayed silent, missing yet another opportunity to grow its brand. This isn't just about Caitlin, it's about what she represents. The potential for women's basketball to reach new heights, attract global attention, and inspire the next generation. The WNBA's refusal to capitalize on Caitlin's star power sends a disheartening message to fans and players alike. Instead of fostering a culture where talent like hers can thrive, the league appears to be holding her back, either out of fear of overshadowing others or an unwillingness to embrace change. This is a dangerous precedent. If the WNBA continues to neglect its brightest stars, it risks alienating the very people it needs to thrive. Its players, its fans, and the young athletes who dream of being part of something greater. Meanwhile, leagues like the LPGA are proving that success in women's sports comes from lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. By celebrating Caitlin, they not only elevated her, but also their own players, their sport, and their brand. The results were undeniable. Massive fan engagement, social media buzz, and headlines that shined a spotlight on women's golf. The WNBA could have been part of this moment, but their absence only highlights their inability or unwillingness to recognize the value of their own. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation athlete, and her impact is already being felt far beyond basketball. But her story is also a cautionary tale about what happens when a league fails to embrace its stars. The WNBA needs to do better, not just for Caitlin, but for the future of the sport. The fans have spoken, the numbers are clear, and the Caitlin Clark effect is undeniable. If the WNBA doesn't start celebrating and promoting its talent, it will continue to lag behind other leagues that are more than ready to seize the moment. The question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark will continue to shine. She will. The real question is whether the WNBA will finally wake up and realize what it's missing before it's too late. It's time for the league to step up, embrace its stars, and take women's basketball to the heights it's always been capable of reaching. Until then, Caitlin Clark will continue to make waves, with or without the WNBA's support. If you agree that Caitlin deserves better, let us know in the comments below. Share this video, spread the message, and let's make sure her voice and the voices of all the rising stars in women's sports are heard. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned because we'll be following this story closely. The WNBA might be silent, but we're here to make some noise. See you in the next one.